Russiagate. Interesting that we say that now. So many years since our videos on Russiagate, where we would say, let's talk about Russiagate. And here we are now, once again, talking about Russiagate.
We're back.
I mean, isn't it insane how history just comes back when you need it to in a proper moment when it's very coincidental and convenient for you? Anyway, guys, welcome back to this channel. And so, we're talking about this, it's all part of geopolitics. It's domestic politics, it's geopolitics, and we're discussing it. How Russiagate is now back to being a thing again. And it's so ridiculous. It's all for a show, it's for performance. But this is the Duran, Alexander Mercouris, and Alex Christoforou discussing the clown show that's called the White House. I mean, I don't know what else to call it, right? So without further ado, we'll get into Alexander Mercouris and Alex Christoforou on the Duran discussing Russiagate and the Obama White House in 2025.
We're back.
Back to our roots. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, exactly. Tulsi Gabbard said that she is referring Obama for criminal charges. She's referring Obama for criminal charges, and she presented some more evidence, I guess you could say, or lies from the Obama White House, which point to her.
I would like to put out immediately that I'm not affiliated with the Duran. I'm not affiliated with Scott Riller. I'm not affiliated. Y'all probably like this little channel. I always want to put that out there. I like I'm providing commentary to their commentary. One day I could be part of the show, but for Sunday, this is what I'm covering. And but if you do like my added commentary, if you do like this video, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. And thank you to every eye that's watching. I'm not sure if I said that already, but all right, really for real this time. Back to the clip.
Assessment that the former president of the United States had a direct role in peddling the Russiagate hoax. Your thoughts on this?
Well, the first thing to say is that if Tulsi Gabbard is doing that, and on the assumption that she's got legal advice about this, which I presume she has done, then we are only being shown a fraction of the material, just to say, because if you're going to bring charges, or you're thinking about bringing charges, or you're contacting the Department of Justice about bringing charges, then the really serious material that you have ought for the moment to be held back so that they can assess it, and so that Obama's lawyers can look to it and respond to it. I mean, that is the way it's supposed to happen. That's due process. And I presume that's going on. So what we're seeing at the moment is probably only a fraction of what Tulsi Gabbard has. I mean, that's an inference, but it's an inference that derives from what she's saying. And I suspect that it all revolves around that December 2016 meeting, which is the key meeting. And by the way, you're absolutely right, we're going back to our roots. I mean, it's a strange thing to be returning to this after all this time. It's like, going back in time in some ways. But in a way, we identified in our commentary back in 2018 and 2019, but 2018 especially, that this meeting in December 2016 was probably the key meeting in the whole Russiagate affair, and is increasingly looking this way. Now, this is a meeting that happened at the intersection of a whole series of events. Firstly, it was at this meeting that apparently decisions were made to unmask people. In other words, to launch investigations against various people, but to provide clues as to who they were. If this is not controversial, it was reported extensively at the time. Susan Rice then, as I said, published a record of this meeting in December that was very interesting and seemed to be rather evasive. And as I said, we touched on that too. The other thing that is interesting about that meeting is, and which hasn't appeared yet in any of the discussions that any of the disclosures from Tulsi Gabbard, But it does seem that around this time, maybe at that particular meeting, there were discussions about Michael Flynn. You remember Michael Flynn, Donald Trump's national security advisor? He had certain telephone conversations with the Russian ambassador. All sorts of stories were circulated about him in the media at that time. He was eventually prosecuted under the Foreign Agents Law and other charges. It was claimed that he made promises about sanctions to the ambassador, which turned out to be untrue, by the way. There was an article that was published about him in the Washington Post by David Ignatius, which many people were very upset about because it looked like David Ignatius was publishing classified information about an intercept. The conversation between Flynn and the ambassador was indeed recorded. Flynn wasn't shown the recording when he met with FBI agents. There's a whole tangled story there. And Flynn was eventually, or at least there was discussion about prosecuting Flynn based on a legal theory connected to a law from the 18th century, which has never really resulted in any kind of convictions. But that which was discussed possibly at this very meeting in December 2016. That is now.
So, okay. Only because these two, when they speak, I like the way they break things down. So it does kind of spark my interest back in this story again. You have to understand, though, as a jaded American who loves her country, yes, but really has a gripe against her establishment, right? A lot of these stories, I stopped looking at them because once I figured out exactly what was going on, okay, not exactly, right? But once I kind of saw how the country works, or like how, why our elected officials aren't answering to us, I was like, I'm not going on these crusades anymore for these politicians, i.e. Trump. I was MAGA. I'm still one of those who want to make America great again, and I think the only way that we can do that is with telling the complete and honest truth about what's going on in America, right? Before we can fix anything, okay? And I understand that not everybody's at the point of the truth, but I'll tell you who is the people who work inside the government, and they come in and give us half stories. I remember, so this was when I was baby MAGA, if you will. I went to this conference in Bethesda, Maryland. It was a big deal show. It was the plot to take out the president. And it was a showing, it was a documentary, which I actually have on YouTube. I still have it to this day, and I probably will go back and watch it again. And it was jarring, like it was insane to see the kind of deception that was done in order to spy on Trump. The problem that I now have with these kind of documentaries is that they don't tell you the full story. But I can't prove necessarily that they didn't tell me the full story. I do not think that it was just Obama in the room, like, all right, this is my plan as Obama to go ahead and spy on Trump because I'm Obama and that's what I want to do. I do believe that there are people on top. Well, there must be, right? Because, I mean, we still can't get those Epstein files and something stopping that, right? So I think that there are people on top who probably told Obama, like, this is what you're going to do next. A lot of our three-letter agencies have been infiltrated. This is not a conspiracy, nor is this a conspiracy channel. It's just simply the facts. So, but they have sparked my interest to want to go back in and take a look at a lot of that information that I did have, that I used to take notes on, writing things down and everything. I kind of dust my brain off and go back into that again so that I could find this connection, the actual connection, the real connection that nobody ever talks about. Because they give you Obama, and guess what? Obama has immunity, so nothing's going to happen to Obama, and this is why, for me, this is a joke. We'll watch a little bit more.
Now under discussion. If we go back in time, there's an awful lot that we just talked about then in more detail. We might find out more things about it eventually. Anyway, I don't want to jump too far ahead because we don't know, but if Tulsi Gabbard is talking about legal proceedings, then I have to assume that, as I said, there's more than has been produced publicly up to this point. I mean, it would be a violation of due process to publicize material that you're going to use for a criminal case. And to be said, frankly, up to this time, what we've seen doesn't yet provide the basis for a criminal case. I've pointed to some of the things that might do. Now let's talk about what we have, and we've had some very interesting revelations now. It's very interesting. And they all relate to that intelligence community assessment that was published in January 2017, which said that the Russians had interfered in the 2016 election with the purpose of getting Donald Trump elected and preventing Hillary Clinton from being elected. What the documents that we now have appear to show is that this assessment was put together by a hand-picked team of CIA analysts. 5 people were selected by Brennan, the CIA director. 2 of them pushed back. They said there just isn't the evidence to justify these sort of conclusions. Ultimately, only 3, therefore, went ahead and put this assessment together because Brennan insisted on the conclusion before the assessment was written, which is astonishing in itself. And we now know that the Steele dossier played an instrumental role in forming the conclusions of the entire assessment, which seems astonishing. The 2 who refused to have anything to do with it basically said this dossier is nonsense, and they were ignored. And the other thing is that the evidence supposedly that the Russians wanted Trump to win and Clinton to lose was based on a fragment of a conversation from a human source. We're not told very much about this, in which there is this brief comment from this human source that Putin was counting on Trump winning.
It's just, it's what is it? It's an embarrassment, for lack of a better term. I don't know. I almost don't even know what to say. I don't. Because why was this orchestrated in the first place? And I think that to figure out why this was orchestrated in the first place is to go back to WikiLeaks and go from there. I mean, my God, you want to talk about, waking up, you want to talk about waking up old haunted houses. But it is necessary. Nobody will be held accountable, but there's still something there, right? Okay. Let me end with this. I am a Christian. I do believe in God. So maybe the Lord wants us to wake this up and really see who was behind all of this. It was not Obama. They give that man way too much power. He was told to do this. But we just need to find out who is running our government. I'll leave it at that.